Welcome back to the Cannonball Mindset. My name is Chad Sanchagrin, and this is one of the episodes. We've interviewed some amazing authors, but I was talking to Bob before we started, and saying that if you were to if you were to buy a bookshelf, and you were open a business, and you were to buy a bookshelf for your office, and you're like, what books do I put up there? This book, The Go Giver, has to be one of your top five. It's got to be one of your starting five books, in my opinion. You have Think and Grow Rich, you have the Four Agreements, you have The Alchemist, you have How to Win Friends and Influence People, and you have The Go Giver. And I'm really full of gratitude that I get to sit and talk to Bob Burg, one of the authors, along with John David Mann, of the original The Go Giver and everything after, all of the Go Giver series after that. And this is a treat for me. So welcome, Bob Burg, author of The Go Giver.
Thank you, Chad. Great to be with you. Thanks for those kind words.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Bob. I know we have 30 minutes, and I could probably talk to you for 7 years, but but we have 30 minutes, and I want to jump right in to this idea of the Go Giver. Where did it come from? So where did this idea? I know we'll get to the five laws and things like that, but where did you get this idea for the Go Giver? That, hey, I'm going to write this fable, I'm going to tell this story, and have such a profound effect on how people do business.
Well, many years ago, I had a book out called Endless Referrals.
Mm,
The subtitle was Network Your Everyday Contacts into Sales. That came out in the mid 90s. And it was really it was a how-to book for entrepreneurs and salespeople who they knew they had a great product or service. They knew it brought lots of value to people, but they maybe didn't feel comfortable or confident with the idea of going out into their local areas and building the kinds of relationships with people that would cause people to want to do business with them, both directly and refer business to them. So it was really a system, if you will, in terms of how to do that. And I personally define a system as the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and
mm,
specific set of how to principles, right? The key being predictability.
yeah,
And so but, it was a how-to book, but I'd always loved reading parables,
yeah,
whether it was Og Mandino's Greatest Salesman in the World or The Richest Man in Babylon by Klassen or, in the late '70s, early '80s, the, 1 Minute series by Doctors Blanchard and Johnson, and so many of them that today people like Chris Weidman and John Gordon and,
yeah,
Andrea Waltz, and so many wonderful books. But anyway, so I thought, wouldn't it be great to take the basic premise of endless referrals, which was that all things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust, and put it into a parable. Now, the name part was easy because if you think about it, those leaders, those salespeople, those entrepreneurs who are the most sustainably successful, highest money earning, the most fulfilled, what they all have in common is that they're givers, right? They're
yeah,
always looking to add value to other people's lives. That's their focus.
yeah,
So coming up with the name the Go Giver, very easy. But what really made this happen is when I met John David Mann, who was the editor in chief of a magazine I used to write for. And I very quickly learned that John's a wonderful writer and had a great reputation with the people who knew him. So I asked John, I gave him this basic idea of a story and so forth. Well, he was kind of interested, but was very busy. But he and his then fiance, now is his lovely wife Anna, they were visiting her mom in Tampa, across the state from me, and so they took a 4-hour drive. And we had about a 3-hour dinner talking about the book and what it would be about and our vision for it. A few weeks later, he told me, I think we got something here. So, we wrote, he was definitely the lead writer and storyteller.
yeah.
I'm a how to guy. You can tell that about me when you speak with me for 30 seconds. John's
Right.
an amazing writer. And, we went through, I think, 25 rejections from New York publishing houses. And finally, we had, Portfolio, Penguin Random House. They took a chance with us. And that was pretty much how the book came about.
It's amazing. And they took a chance with you. And now the book was written in 2008. And now, 14 years later, going on 15 years later, it's still flying off the shelves, hundreds of thousands of
Thank you.
copies. I'd say that paid off. the idea of the go-giver and this idea of contribution and the idea of servitude towards other. Do you think that's lost? Do you see that becoming, in the economy and in the circumstance we're in? Maybe not even the economy is not the right word. Um, do you see people's mission changing where people are going away from the go-giver mindset, or do you think people are leaning more into it?
I think they're leaning more into it.
Yeah.
I think business has had a shift in which people are really wanting to see purpose. And
Yeah.
you talk about cannonball moments,
Yeah.
right? And I mean, that's the ultimate when purpose meets that path,
Yeah.
that new path.
I love that.
And I think that's what's happened with a lot of. That's why your message is so important, because people want to feel. And by the way, I think it's part of human nature that people want to feel they're making a contribution to life.
Agreed.
Okay, not in a self-sacrificial way, not in a way that they're a martyr, not in any way at all. But most of us, through our businesses, right, especially as entrepreneurs, uh, we want to make a difference. We want to feel as though we've brought value to life, to others. We do that mainly through our business. We can do it other ways too. But I think that's why the message hit with people, because what it said is, yes,
Yeah.
you can be what you want to be. You can be that person who really focuses on bringing value to others and
Mm,
earn a very, very healthy income as well. It's not that
right.
treacherous dichotomy. You're either a giver or a receiver,
Correct.
right?
Correct. The
You're
tyranny, the
both.
tyranny of the or. I can be
The
either a
tyranny
giver
of the or.
or I can be a receiver. When the reality is,
Absolutely.
well, for me, and I would love to get your take on this. So we have a mission. We are actually, I think a lot of companies have mission statements. We are actually on a mission at kind of moments, and it's very simple, and that is to contribute to the well-being of every human being that we interact with. Contribute to the well-being of every human being we interact with. If
Yeah.
you have this go-giver mindset to what you just said, the compensation, the financial reward is a result of that purpose, not a cause to. Is that right?
Right. Well, so John David Mann and I say, and I think it was in Go Givers Sell More we mentioned this, that money is simply an echo of value,
Mm, that's right.
right? That it's the thunder, if you will, to values lightning, which really means nothing more than understanding that to the degree that you focus on that other person, that focus on them has got to be first.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, right? No, and I say this when I speak at sales conferences. It's one of the first things I'll say, and that is nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet, right? They're not going to buy from you because you need the money. And just like no one's going to follow you because you want someone to follow you, right?
Right.
People are going to do business with you. They're going to buy from you. They're going to follow you because they believe that ultimately they will be better off by doing so
Mm,
than by not doing so. And that's great.
yeah.
That's also part of human nature. And what it means is that that person like you and your company and your mission and the people who you teach, the people who not only are willing to, but who take joy in providing value to others, those are the people who are going to find they're the ones who are most sustainably successful.
Oh my gosh. So
We
so
were
good.
talking about Dale Carnegie before
Yeah.
when we were
Yeah.
talking about that being one of the books. What did Dale Carnegie see? I believe his underlying premise was this. And this is where it was in one sentence he said in his book. I loved his entire book, but
Right.
this one sentence to me was a game changer. He said, ultimately, people do things for their reasons,
Not yours.
not our
Yeah.
reasons.
Mm, so good.
And we ignore that at our peril.
Well, I think that listen. I think, and I think that that's one of mine. I don't think I know that's one of my favorite parts of that book. But I think the idea, and again, I don't believe the Go Giver is a sales book. I do think it is a life book. I think you can adopt these
Thank you.
principles to anything, contribution of anything, not the contribution we sell. But what's interesting about what you just said is I think the dichotomy is when you see mission focused versus commission focused,
Ah,
right? And
ah,
commission focused being that they're doing it for my purpose, not yours. Mission focused is they're doing it for their. I'm here to assist you. I'm not here to benefit me. Is that would you agree with that?
Oh, I love that. You know, there's a colleague of mine. Her name is Lisa Earl McLeod, and she wrote a series of books called Noble Purpose. So,
Mm.
leading with noble purpose, selling with noble purpose, and she tells a beautiful story that I'm going to totally butcher right here, but hopefully the gist of it is going to come through. And she tells a story of the time she was brought in into a pharmaceutical company to kind of determine why the top producers, why the were the top producers. And she was talking with one woman who, had done pretty well, but then all of a sudden went to like the very top of the company,
Yeah.
and she wanted to know what was it, what was it that was that, and this I think in a sense has a lot to do with being a cannonball moment, and this is where she said to Lisa that one day she was in a doctor's office and she was checking in with the receptionist to say she was there and what company she was with, and so that she had a seat. Well, an elderly woman, not totally elderly, but
Yeah.
uh, advancing to that point,
Yeah.
came over to her and said, "Did I hear you say that you're with whatever the pharmaceutical company was?" And she said, "Yes, I am. Why?" She goes, "Are you all the makers of the so and so drug?" And she goes, "Yes, we are." And she said, "I've got to tell you, you gave me my life back.
Mm.
I mean, I was not able to really function properly. I couldn't play with my grandkids. I wasn't able to go out. I'd lost all my friends. I blah blah. She goes, after taking this, and she just gave her the best testament. She's now being able to play with her grandkids and enjoy her life. And blah, blah. So what this woman said, this pharmaceutical rep said to Lisa is, I realized at that point, I'm not in the practice of selling drugs or pharmaceuticals. I'm in the business of helping people
Mm.
get their lives back,
Mm.
of giving
Mm.
people their lives back. That's a cannonball moment, I
Yeah,
think, if
that's
I
right.
get your teaching
Yeah, that's
correctly.
exactly right. That's exactly right. That's a cannonball moment. That's exactly the purpose. And that's where that shift in that mindset, the shift in the perspective of what I do changes what I get.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? Totally different. Now, like now what I get is I get fulfillment, I get satisfaction, I get purpose. Oh, and by the way, if I take two people that are purpose driven versus commission driven, I will hedge my bet to say that in the long run, the purpose driven person will have a more financial reward as well.
Oh, yeah. Money is an echo of
Yeah,
value. It
money's an
really
echo of
is.
value.
And
So
that,
good. So
yeah.
good. All right. So let's get into the five laws. Right? The five the five laws of five laws of stratospheric success. Sorry. All right. So number one, and this is my favorite law of the well, I say that and then I'm like, well, no, wait a minute, the other one is too. So okay, so it's one of my favorite. The law of value. The law of value. Tell us what the law of value is and why it's so important.
Yeah, so this says that your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. Now, Chad, when you first hear this, it sounds counterintuitive, right?
Right.
Give more in value than I take in payment. That sounds all nicey nice and everything, but
Right.
it also kind of sounds like a recipe for bankruptcy, right? So we simply have to understand the difference between price and value. Price being a dollar figure, a dollar amount. It's finite. It is what it is.
Right.
Value, on the other hand, is the relative worth or desirability of a thing, of something, to the end user or beholder. In other words, what is it about this thing, this product, service, concept, idea, what have you, that brings so much worth or value to another human being that they will willingly exchange their money for it
Right.
and be ecstatic that they did while you make a very healthy profit? This would be very, very simple example. It would be the person you hire to do your taxes, and she charges you $1,000. That's her fee or her price,
Right.
literally $1,000. But what value does she give you in exchange? Well, through getting to understand you, know your business, know what you're looking to accomplish. In her years of experience, hard work, she's able to save you $5,000 in taxes. She saves you countless hours of time, and she provides you and your family with the security and peace of mind of knowing it was done correctly.
Yeah.
So she gave you well over $5,000 in value in exchange for $1,000 price. She gave you more in value than she took in payment. You feel great about it, but she made a very healthy profit
Correct.
because it was worth her worth it to her to exchange her time, her energy, her knowledge for that $1,000. Here's the thing, and I learned this from one of my heroes, Harry Brown, many years ago, and that's this. In any free market based exchange, free market simply meaning no one's forced to do business with anyone else.
Right.
In any free market based exchange, there are always two profits, the buyer profits and the seller profits, because each of them come away better off afterwards
Yeah, that's
than
right.
they were beforehand.
Yeah, it's mutually beneficial. It's a
Exactly.
mutually beneficial relationship. Is it in kind of tagging this to a sales kind of thing? So if I let me give you an example. If somebody came up to me today and said, "Hey, I have this motorcycle. It's an amazing motorcycle. It's the greatest motorcycle ever. It goes 160 miles an hour. It has all the latest bells and whistles. It's got auto drive. It's got this. It's got that. And I'm gonna sell it to you for 50% off, 60% off, right? It may be a great deal, but there's zero value to me because I'll never get on a motorcycle,
Well, yeah, and that'd be the same with me. Yeah.
right?
Value, you make a great point here. And this is so key to understand. Value is always in the eyes of the beholder.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay. It's not what we find of value about our product or service, it's what they would find to be of value.
Perfect. So then in that case, the relationship has to not be built on the product, but the relationship has to be built on the discovery of what is valuable to the person that you are speaking to, not what you try to make valuable in their eyes, but what's valuable to them.
The discovery is the most important part of a sales conversation.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
Absolutely. Because when you think about it, if you were to define selling, what is it? It's discovering
Yeah.
what the other person needs, wants, or
That's right.
desires and helping them to get it.
Yeah, we have what we teach a lot of our clients. We have a sales process. It's called EEA, and it's explore, educate, advance. Explore, educate, advance. And you
Mm,
always, everything starts always with explore because there is nothing more important than that first. That first.
yeah.
Educating
Yeah.
first without exploration is futile. It does.
Absolutely. You're educating about something that they don't necessarily care about, like the person educating you on how great the motorcycle
Right,
is.
that's exactly right. And I see that's what happens because we make it about what we're selling, not what's important to them, which is the antithesis of the go-giver mindset of like, hey, no, it's all about them.
Well, the biggest mistake in sales is the salesperson thinking that what they find to be of value is what someone else would be to
Yes.
find of value. Now, it's an innocent mistake, and the reason it happens is because we all operate from our own set of beliefs,
Yes.
right? And these beliefs are a combination of, well, upbringing, environment, schooling, news media, television shows, movies, whatever it
Yeah.
happens to be.
Right.
But as human beings, we operate within what I call an unconscious operating system,
Mm. Mm.
right? We don't even know these are our necessarily our, but we just know,
Yeah,
we just believe what we believe, and we don't give it a thought.
that's right.
But we tend to believe that other people see the world basically the way we do.
Mm.
That makes sense
Yeah.
when you think about it intuitively, right? Because we don't know anything. We don't
Right.
know
We don't
anything
know what we
different.
don't
That's
know.
why you hear people say things like, "Oh, nobody would want that." Well, that's not necessarily true at all. You don't. I might not, but that doesn't mean everybody.
That's exactly right.
Or I would never talk that way to someone. Well, no, we wouldn't because it's not congruent with our belief
Yeah,
system.
that's
But
right.
right? So that's why asking questions and being willing to listen and listen and listen and gently, tactfully clarify and make sure that you're both on the same page is absolutely so important.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, I could spend an hour just on that one value on that one law. All right. The law of compensation, right? Your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them.
Yeah.
What I said earlier, the law of value is my first, and then I was like, oh, I don't know, because this one, because I'm all about serving. Tell me about
Sure.
this.
Well, this one, so, while the first law said to give more in value than you take in payment, this one says your income is not just about serving one person. It's also about how many lives you
Hmm.
touch with that exceptional
Yes.
value.
Yes.
That's why referrals are so very important. Introductions are so very important because you're able to touch more people's lives in a quicker way
Yeah.
because of borrowed
That,
influence, borrowed trust, vicarious experience.
yeah.
And so yeah, so Nicole, the CEO in the story, told Joe, the mentor, law number one, law of value represents your potential income, but it's law number two, the law of compensation, that represents your actual income because it's all about
That's
impact.
exactly right. And this one for me, uh, I don't know if it reminds me of Zig Ziglar's. You can have anything you want in life as long
Mhm.
as you're willing to help everybody else
Sure.
get
Oh
what they
yeah.
want in life, right? Um,
Oh, so to me, that's the embodiment of the go giver philosophy when you think about it.
Yeah, unbelievable. All right, I don't want to flow through these, but I want to make sure we get to all of them. The next one, the law of influence. Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place others' interests ahead of yours, basically, right?
Yeah, but there's nothing, and I want to make sure to qualify this because I think it can be easily misunderstood. When we say place the other person's interests first, we're not saying, and we mentioned this before, that you're being a doormat or a martyr or
Right. That's
self-sacrificial.
right.
Not at all. It's as Joe learned from several of the mentors, the golden rule of business. All things being equal, people will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. Well, Chad, as you know, there's no faster, more powerful, or more effective way to elicit those feelings toward you than by genuinely moving from that I focus or me focus
Yeah.
to an other focus, looking to, as Sam, one of the mentors, advised Joe, make your win all about the other person's
Yeah,
win.
love this one. I think people underestimate um, of all of the laws that you have in your book and all of the principles. I think that this is the one that people don't use enough, or maybe not use enough. That don't um, consciously lean into enough. I think that if you understood the amount of influence you have in a person's life and hold
Yeah.
it as what we say hallowed
Yeah.
ground, right?
Mhm.
There's a proverb about where Moses is at the burning bush and he takes his shoes off. He says, "Because this is sacred. This is sacred ground." The idea is like this is sacred ground when you are serving and putting somebody else's interests above you. To me, that's
Mhm.
real influence.
Yeah, that's leadership, that's
Yeah.
influence, absolutely.
All right. Next one. The law of authenticity. The law of authenticity. Tell me about this one because I think authenticity is one of these words that is used almost as a catchphrase right now.
Yeah,
Right? Be
and
authentic. Be your authentic self. Like, tell me about this one.
yeah, and let's talk about that because it's important. Well, so the law itself says the most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, and Deborah Davenport, one of the mentors, shares that when you come at it from your true, authentic core, right? People feel comfortable with you. They feel safe with you because they know who you are. They know who they're getting. But I agree with you that the word is so overused and used, as you said, a catchphrase. I think we've lost the meaning of what authenticity. I think it's almost been misinterpreted, and I think the internet's had something to do with that. But it's almost like authenticity means you have no boundaries. Just say or do whatever you want. It doesn't matter how
That's
inappropriate
right.
because I'm being authentic. This would be like the person who says, "Well, I have anger issues and I yell at people a lot, and if I were to act any differently, that wouldn't be authentic of me."
Yeah.
Which is hogwash. It's baloney. It means this person has an authentic problem
That's right.
that they need to authentically work on in order to become a better, higher,
Yeah.
authentic version of themselves.
Agreed.
I think here's how I define authenticity. Okay, acting congruently with your values.
Mm,
That's it.
mm.
Acting congruently with your values. Nothing more, nothing less. And so if everything you think, feel, say, and do is congruent with your value system, you're being authentic.
Yeah.
But it certainly doesn't mean you've got to tell everybody everything about you at every given second and
Yeah.
whatever. That's I think it's just been
Uh, it's
abused as a
Well,
term.
it's the it. I again, I'm a strong believer that it is the new get out of jail free card. Like it doesn't matter what you say or do, as long as I say, "Well, I was being authentic,"
Being
then
authentic,
then
right?
I
So it's okay.
then I get a free pass, right? And
Yeah.
that's simply. I'm saying you can authentically be a jerk. It doesn't make
Yeah,
it
you can be an authentic
right.
jerk. It's like when somebody says, "Well, just be yourself." Well, that's not always great advice. First, be a better self.
Right.
Grow into your better authentic
Right.
self.
Well, be the be the person that you were capable of becoming.
Capable of, and that's the thing. And I think you hit it on the head right there because authenticity doesn't mean that's an excuse for not growing,
That's exactly
for
right.
staying where you
Mhm.
are. Utilize the term authenticity as an impetus to grow,
That's exactly
to
right. That's
learn,
exactly right.
to become a better, higher, more effective version of your true authentic
Yeah,
self.
yeah,
Absolutely.
version 2.0, version
Yeah.
3.0. There's a lot of authentic products that become obsolete because they don't grow. Do
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? Like, so you got to grow a really good one. Uh, number number five, the law is reciprocity. Yeah,
Receptivity.
let me
Yeah.
say, you say it better than I do. Say it again.
That's a tough
Yeah.
word to say. It took me a few times as well. Yeah. Law of receptivity.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Tell me about that. Thanks.
Yeah, well, this one says the key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving, which a lot of people have trouble with. And here's how we basically explain it. It's like breathing out and breathing in. It's not one or the other. You've got to do both,
Mm.
right? You breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. You breathe out, which is giving, you breathe in, which is receiving. Giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. Unfortunately, though, the world tells us a different story.
Mm.
There is so much anti-prosperity messaging out
Oh,
there.
hmm,
It's just enormous.
unbelievable.
And it messes with people's minds, and they get this from the time they're little kids, and they see it in every movie and TV show and culture and the media and schools, and it's horrifying when you think of it. It's no wonder people find it when they get older. They have such a hard time receiving.
That's right.
And
Exactly
so,
right.
one reason I believe that it's so important to really make a proactive study of prosperity, read the books, and listen to the podcasts and watch the videos by people like Randy Gage and David Nagel and Sharon Lechter and the late Bob Proctor and Ken Honda and Ellen Rogan and so many people who are just fantastic on this topic. Here's the thing: giving and receiving are not opposite concepts. They're simply two sides of the very same coin,
That's right.
and they work together in tandem.
Yeah.
It's not like we're talking about the treacherous dichotomy or false dilemma, right? It's not are you a giver or a receiver? You're both. But here's what's important to understand, which we already know: the giving comes first.
Yes.
The giving of value comes first. This is universal law. It's the law of nature, of human nature, but also physical nature. We plant before we harvest. We sow before we reap. We give before we receive. But when we give exceptional value to others, when we touch the lives of many with this value, when we place other people's interests first, understanding that that's why they're going to be receptive to us, when we come from our true, authentic core, we have created what John and I call the benevolent context
Yes.
for your success. And as it comes to you, you've got to be able to gratefully and willingly receive it.
Yes. 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 Can I get another yes? Dr. Henry Cloud wrote a great book called The Power of the Other. The Power of the
Mm.
Other. And what he says is a true relationship, a true connection is one where we are both giving and receiving. Because if I'm only giving and not receiving, it's a disconnected relationship. It's one way only. And for it to be a
Shutting
real
down flow.
relationship, it must be and this is in any relationship. This isn't a salesperson to a to a prospect. This isn't to a parent to a child. This is to any relationship where you must give and receive. And I think this is you're right. I think this is we've almost made it a negative to want to
Yeah.
receive. And so what we have
Hmm.
is we have this abundant of people who are growing up and living as if they're not even the lead actor in their own story. They're the support cast. And the idea is it's okay to want to be a co actor with somebody else. It's okay to
Hmm.
want to be the lead actor. I think, but you have to be open to receiving. I think people are, to your point earlier, I think people are willing to give, and you can watch it. You watch how people just accept a compliment. You watch how people it's amazing to me how people just can't even receive a compliment. And if you can't receive a compliment, are you going to be open to receiving coaching? Are you going to be open to receiving anything?
Exactly right, and that's why it's so important to, start small and build in your small successes. When someone gives you a compliment, instead of, "Oh, no," it's just, "Oh, thank you so much," or somebody offers to pour the coffee, it's, "Oh, it's very kind of you, thank you,"
Yeah.
and allow them to do it. Receive those little things and build in your small successes, and you'll start receiving the bigger
Oh
things.
yeah, I held this was gosh, this is probably like 8 months ago, and I was somewhere, I don't know where I was out, and I held the door for a lady behind me. I just like held the door for a lady behind me, and she said, "I don't need you to hold my door for me." I was like, "Oh, okay, okay." If my grandfather that was there and I didn't hold the door, he would have slapped me in the back of the head and said,
Right, of course.
what is wrong with you?" But even a small gesture like that, I think people are starting to be like, "No, I don't need anybody's help. I don't need to receive anything, or I can't receive anything." And I think that's a slippery slope to go down. So it's okay. What you're saying in this book is it's okay to receive. All
Absolutely.
right. So listen, I know we're out of time, and it feels like we've only been talking 5 minutes, but we've been talking 30 now. But your time is incredibly valuable. The five laws are unbelievable. The Go Giver, again, turn around if you're listening to this in your office. Turn around and look at your bookcase. If you don't have the book, The Go Giver, the red book, Go Giver, just order it now. Just order it like right now, because if
Thank you.
somebody walked in and looked at your bookcase and you don't have the Go Giver on there, they'd be like, what are you doing?" And once you get the one
That's a
Go
very
Giver,
nice
you'll want the
compliment.
whole series. All right, Bob, two more questions for you. One, where do people find you? So people obviously are tuning in because they want to hear you and they want to get these nuggets. Where do they find more of you? Follow more of you?
Burg.com, BURG, is the best place.
Burg.com. And I'm going to say he didn't say it, but just go onto iTunes and or podcast and just look for the Go Giver podcast. There's a ton of information. I'm saying your stuff is everywhere. That's what
Thank
happens
you.
when you write a Wall Street Journal, New York Times best-selling book, The Go Giver. All right, Bob, thank you so much for your time. I'm telling you, this was a highlight. We've had some amazing, amazing guests on, but for somebody that is in the top five of my books, it's a real pleasure for me. Last
Pleasure's
question,
mine.
Bob, before I let you go, and that is 50 years from now, 40 years from now, when you leave this earth, what do you want your contribution to have been?
I think it's that he was an encourager. He made people feel genuinely good about themselves.
Mm. He was an encourager. He made them feel good about themselves. And I'll tell you, um, you do that every time you talk. So I appreciate that. The Go Giver, the Go Giver, the Go Giver series. Go get him today. Bob Burke, thank you for coming on. I appreciate your time. And go serve somebody else today.
Thank you, Chad.